Welcome, everybody, and thanks for joining us for a fireside chat here with our friends at Accenture. We've got a great show here entitled Modernizing with Momentum, IdentityIQ to SailPoint's Identity Security Cloud. Now, I'm Jeff Hickman. I'm our SailPoint's SVP for Technology Services, which includes our global sales engineering organization, as well as our team that looks after our IIQ modernization business. And I'll be the host for Identity TV today. And with that, I'm excited to be diving into this conversation that's really top of mind for many of our customers, namely how to evolve from an on-prem identity governance platform and posture to embrace a more agile and scalable future in the cloud, specifically using Identity Security Cloud, or ISC as we'll use today. I'm thrilled to be joined by our fantastic partners at Accenture, who bring just a wealth, a deep experience in helping clients modernize their identity programs, and who have even gone through this very journey themselves. And we'll talk about that a little bit too. So let's jump in. I want to welcome Pankaj Jain. Pankaj, it's great to see you. Maybe give us a quick summary of your role at Accenture, and then maybe some background in the identity management space.
Thanks, Jeff. Very, very excited to be here. Great topic to talk about. I am the global business lead for digital identity at Accenture, long title. But what that does say is I do identity. I've been doing identity since since 1997. It's about 28 years now. I worked as an engineer architect in the initial part of my career. I've gone on to build out large identity practices as well. I personally led or myself done maybe about 100 plus of these identity engagements locally, globally, across multiple nations. They've been spread across multiple geographies. That said, I've kind of nearly seen every kind of identity use case there is to be seen. But that said, I still do get surprised sometimes, and you sometimes come across something new.
Okay, I'm actually really interested to start our discussion today at a macro and talk about the state of identity security right now. And you certainly have had this catbird seat in the identity management space. You've done this, worked with hundreds of organizations, and you've personally been in the space for a really long time, as we just mentioned. So you've seen it all. And I'd love to kind of understand the macro trends that you've seen in the industry as it's evolved, kind of looking backwards, and then also as we stand here today and look forward, where do you see it going?
So, great question. So what I like to kind of start off with, say, okay, how did we get here? And I want to kind of delve a little bit into the history of how these products have actually evolved. So back in the day, we used to just call them identity management product. Governance wasn't really there as yet. That was a name that got coined a bit later in life. But at that time, when we looked at a product, it was primarily just a framework, and we built everything on top of it. And we actually went out and customers chose products based on not just the framework, but also saying, what connectors do you have? Can I build custom connectors on this? And those were the choices that we had. And the initial deployments of these products, though very robust in nature, became very customized because ideally it was just a framework that we had in place. And then as we went through the life cycle of that product, every 5 to 8 years, customers were upgrading. They were spending time in it. And there came a time when the cost of an upgrade on that particular tool set and the skill set required to maintain it, it became very expensive. So then the ask came from products to say, okay, can we start doing it simply? Simplification. I want more simplification of connectors. I don't need Java developers available for me to actually come in, or a custom language or scripting language to deploy these connectors. So the product became more easier to deploy. The timelines became to shorten a little bit, but the customizations and others stayed there because the processes were still there. And then post that, there were these additional feature sets. Can I connect to a SIAM product? Can I connect to a ticketing system? What was access request initially built into the system did we exploit that? So feature sets became important. So it went from a framework to a feature-rich product set. Then it became to say, okay, can I start to manage cloud applications and others? And then it became to say that now I'm still having to spend a lot of time feeding it, enhancing it, upgrading it, managing infrastructure, etc. So customers started getting to saying, okay, let me see if this can be put on a cloud platform. And eventually we came to SaaS. So there's a history there to say how these products have kind of evolved. But of late, I would say in the last couple of years, with the advent of technologies like AI, things are really changing. These are interesting times, right? In the last 5 to 10 years, it was primarily saying, how can I manage the public cloud infrastructure with identity? And many times you had different solution sets. But now the advent is coming on to saying, okay, am I ready to manage agents, agentic AI? Am I ready to manage these non-human identities? Am I prepared for that? I think that's what we've been looking at. And nearly every conference that I've gone to in the last 8 to 12 months, every product vendor, whether it be an IGA product, a PAM product, or a single sign-on product with us, everyone's talking about non-human identity.
Yeah, I think this is a super interesting thread. We this idea of agentic and agentic identities, even 4 or 5 months ago, it wasn't a question that we were hearing, or when we
Yeah.
would probe with our customers, it wasn't something that it was really top of mind. But even in the last, let's say, 6 weeks, that game has changed, and I think this concept of the speed at which change is coming into kind of the identity governance space, you're going to start to see that flywheel accelerate, pretty heavily here. And it's an interesting thread to pull on, because ultimately, it's what you're kind of alluding to is that we need to be prepared to be a little bit more nimble and a little bit more agile in our security posture. And if we start to kind of double click here on that, and what are the key drivers today? Obviously, SaaS provides some of that agility for a lot of customers, and what are the key drivers for customers today as they start to look to upgrade to ISC running on our Atlas platform in the cloud? Why should they really consider upgrading? What are those direct benefits that you're seeing that our joint customers are having?
So some of the specific benefits I'll talk about, and then many times it's not just about benefit, but there is logical reasoning for you to kind of move on to the next step, right? So if you really look at it, most of the IQ deployments today, previously they would be done in big data centers, but now most organizations have been doing IQ deployments on the cloud. So if you really look at it, their infrastructure is already on a SaaS platform. It's just the application that's not there in the SaaS platform. They understand the core benefits of moving to a SaaS platform where infrastructure and everything else doesn't need to be constantly upgraded, but they understand that. So there is some cost benefit in actually moving even the application to now a SaaS platform versus just maintaining and feeding it that particular platform. The other advantage, and again, it is always there are many organizations and how they recognize budget, whether it's a capex budget or an opex budget. Sometimes those reasonings help. But I think the biggest reasoning would be around what kind of tooling is now available to me in this new SaaS platform. What is it that I'm missing here? What is my time to market? Why do I need this? And coming back to a point around the innovation that's happening in the marketplace today. Am I going to be ready for it? Because your organization is going to go down. Your IT organization is digitizing. There are going to be agents, AI agents in your organization. There are going to be agents within your SaaS platforms that you're going to start to interact with. How are you going to manage those life cycles? How are you going to manage permission sets on those? And that feature sets are going to be available first and readily on that ISC platform of yours. It'll eventually come on IQ, but it'll take you a lot more effort to kind of make it happen, right? So that tooling set is available to you. And there are certain additional tool sets, the Atlas platform that you guys are building, SailPoint has, it's forming the basis of all of it. And by the end of it, I think a couple of other things that come to mind and which do pay enough importance is, what's the user experience going to look like at the end of the day, right? So are they still interacting in a particular way, the old traditional way, or am I doing something to make the user experience better? Some of the things that we used to work on say things like managing cloud entitlements. Those are also some of the feature sets. We still haven't gotten a handle on it. Not every organization has really managed the life cycle of users getting access to those cloud entitlements. whether it be in AWS or Azure or GCP. That's still the case for you to kind of get to this newer platform, this more modern platform, and be avail of those additional features.
Yeah, I think we see customers as they start to move. You talked about that experience side of this and in improving of kind of the scope of the security posture, and we know that customers can nearly 50% faster bring in additional applications, onboard new applications into ISC versus kind of on-prem or IIQ type deployments, which frees up that time for those teams to actually focus on the security posture versus just operationally focusing on keep the lights on for your deployment. There's just this added benefit of user experience, operational, organizational efficiencies, all of those fun things at the same time of reducing cost, as you said, of getting rid of infrastructure that you're managing and maintaining, and having to scale as your organization grows or a new acquisition is made or something along those lines. It's quite powerful when you see it all kind of come together.
Yeah.
And then, even for SailPoint, we've seen we've crossed the threshold where the majority of our customers are actually using our SaaS platform versus our on-prem versions, and we expect this year that upwards of 90% of new customers that we're bringing on will be SaaS customers, and so you start to see this flywheel momentum building in that SaaS posture to become more agile and save money and lower total cost of ownership and all that stuff. So, I think we see the same things you guys are seeing as well. All right, let's shift gears a little bit. We've talked about macro trends facing customers and some benefits of why modernizing. Maybe we get a bit into the guidance. I mean, you guys are arguably, first and foremost, one of the best experts, in guiding customers, on this journey of modernization. And what is your perspective or guidance on how customers should think about this modernization journey?
So, a very interesting topic here, and we continue to have these discussions internally because we are one of the initial folks we are starting to adopt AI in our everyday life, in actual departments and others, and we're seeing great benefits out of it. So what I like to tell our customers is that in the next 6 to 9 months, maybe even less, right, you're going to see a sea change in deployment timelines of not just new greenfield deployments, of modernizations, of going from legacy to a modern deployment. Timelines are going to change in terms of where deployments would take months. It's not going to be months anymore. It's going to be weeks. Right? I do expect, and we have seen it in-house, where we've actually built those toolings, where we're starting to see our configurations. That's the configuration in SailPoint, for example, to be automated. 40 to 70% of it is going to be fully automated. Where the tool sets are there. We are making that. In terms of all the collateral that goes as part of a deployment, generation of or creation of design documents, creation of architecture documents, creation of test cases, all those are all automated now. We ask our AI tools to create those, given the specifications, and we get architecture and design documents printed out for us. And we have somebody humanly read through it and verify. Test cases are done. Test casing automation. DevOps automation is there. So the deployment timelines, and taking DevOps and kind of integrating it in the complete pipeline of deploying artifacts onto SailPoint or onto ISC is very much automated. We've seen that, but we are seeing a lot more of it now. So think of this, that all the things that we have actually done, all the AI tooling that we have done to actually get to the product set is going to make, you don't really have to think twice about saying, okay, what is it going to cost? It's not cost, it's saving of time, getting to market first, and making sure available. So in a sense, your journey of modernization in the IG starts after you actually move to ISC. That's what you should be thinking about. I'm now on ISC. Now what do I start doing? And that is when you start looking at building those additional features, taking advantage of all these new AI insight features now that you have, and start to. And you look at it and saying, okay, I only had 20 applications onboarded in IIQ or in my legacy system, but there are close to 1,000 applications out there right now within my organization. They should all be coming to ISC. And just given that now, with these tool sets, if we are built out, it's going to take a much lesser time to onboard an application. You should not have a challenge, or the challenge would be much more lesser to actually onboard. Typically, what used to happen in the past, wherein you have your IGA system built out, and then but you want to onboard applications, it used to be a few weeks worth of effort, 4 to 6 weeks, 8 weeks. There's data cleansing, there's requirements gathering, there's design sessions that would happen, and there's a cost associated to it. And the question would arise is, who's paying for it? Is the application owner paying for that integration, or is the identity team paying for it? And nothing would happen. And because they would just do the manual task of going through a ticketing system and keep going. And access certification will be manual in nature. But here, now that we are going to shorten that time frame, it has actually gotten shortened. We can, and anybody, whether it's the identity team or the application team, the chargeback models don't really carry as much weight. But you become much more pervasive in the organization. And that's when you can start to take advantages of all the other feature sets that product offers that you would always wanted to be a role-based access control or rule-based access control kind of organization. You can start to do it.
So it's actually interesting. It's really good perspective, and this concept of, you hit on something in there about talking about the identity owner and kind of a day in the life and how they need to kind of look at this world. And I wondered, kind of spurred the thought, I wonder if you, based on the hundreds and thousands of customers you've worked with over the years, I wonder if there's some nuggets of advice you would have specifically for that identity program owner as they start thinking about this modernization and journey. What advice would you give to those individuals as they start thinking about this?
I think what you got to start thinking about is start to imagine a world to say that I am on a modern platform. What more can I do with it? Expand your scope of influence within the organization. Make your product set way more pervasive out there. Because to do that, you also have to be aware of what is it that your IT organization is doing today. Right? If your IT organization is in a full digitization landscape where they are actually moving every infrastructure out there, they're adopting newer technologies. Your finance group has started to use an AI tool for better workflow management, better invoice management. Your supply chain department is starting to use AI tool sets now. Are you, as an identity owner or identity governance owner, are you ready for those things? Are those changes coming? Because adoption takes time. And if you are on an old legacy system, to adopt that and put those changes in, it's going to cost money. It's going to cost time, because you're still worried about whether you have an upgrade patch that you haven't applied. The feature set's available 3 patches down, and you are still on an old version and you're not there yet. And there's budget and money, etc. that's involved. So you got to take that leap of faith, get to that newer feature set. Yes, you will be on an ISC, and use that opportunity to standardize. Get rid of all the customizations that you have. I'm a big proponent of zero customizations. Any small change, if you can't use it out of the box, it's not a process you should have. Talk to your business, see what else you can do. Small changes, I agree. You got an AD name change, you got display name changes, etc. There are certain things that an organization has. You want those. But I'm not a proponent of saying that just for that one application, I want to build a 5-step approval work.
So I hear you saying, broaden the horizon. Think, get outside of just the identity swim lane. Understand the landscape of IT. Where is agentic going in my organization? Make inroads with other functions within IT, and really this idea of configure and customize. Configure always, customize only when necessary. Kind of when absolutely necessary.
You know what, right? Keep it simple, stupid. Yes, keep it simple and stupid.
There you go.
Sounds very simple. It never is.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many times I've had the debate with a customer on why that particular change needs to happen, why they need to move on the UI, this yes button from the left side to the right side, or the OK button or a display message that needs to come, or an extra email notification that needs to go out. My opinion is yes, if you stand your ground, keep it simple, your life will be simple, operations will be simpler, you will be able to adopt new feature sets much, much faster.
Yeah, that velocity just goes up. Okay,
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
makes a ton of sense. All right, so we're getting close to the end here, and I'll let you get back to normal life. But you know, there's an amazing wealth, clearly, of knowledge bouncing around in your brain. And I think, I mentioned at the onset that Accenture has gone through this very journey themselves. Modernizing from a very, very complex, and I mean, your organization is huge, and it is complex, and it is unique, if you will. And you've made the switch over to ISC, and seen some pretty amazing benefits as well. So I wondered if, having walked a mile in our customers' shoes, if you can share some of the lessons learned and during that journey, and the direct benefits that Accenture is actually seeing by doing this.
Sure. I mean, you're right. I mean, there's these tons of ideas and thoughts that keep going on in my head. Sometimes I think I should write a book about it because it's something that I've been doing. 25 years back, I was doing the same thing. Today, I'm still doing the same thing. It's just the context changes, right? So, but yeah, I mean, not just Accenture. I mean, all our customers that have moved to ISC and others are seeing the benefits of it. In the internal deployment that we had, I think it's one of the largest ones. We had about 800,000 users that moved from IIQ to ISC. Still work in progress. We have been live with it, but we continue to add feature sets to it, right? And just to give an example, we had 160,000 roles in that, and with multi-dimensional roles, it's come down to a fraction of that. We had more than 500 applications in that we moved on. But overall, things that I see in the data sets that I'm trying to see with all our customers that we moved to ISC is there is a reduction in workforce that you start to see. You can repurpose your people, because you don't need that many people to feed and care for it. It's a SaaS platform. But you can have those people actually talking to other applications and helping applications on board and start to come. Data aggregation is a big piece of that things that we do. We've seen at least a 50% reduction in time in data aggregation with ISC, right? So, but again, there are feature sets that you have, but again, this is just performance side of things. But feature sets wise, there are all the new AI insight in those feature sets. Customers love it. So those are obviously there.
That's great. I mean, I think the size and scope of Accenture, it speaks to itself. Kind of going back to your point of being able to move away from a highly custom and still get these benefits, start to reap the benefits of a SaaS platform, and the fact that you can move an organization that has been has built and configured and custom created their own, move to a more SaaS based configurable platform, and still met all of the business needs in a faster, more scalable platform is pretty impressive. So kudos and congrats to you guys on that journey. Well, I think that starts to wrap up our time today, and just a huge thank you, Pankaj, for taking time, sharing your thoughts, sharing your advice. Accenture is such a great partner to SailPoint and to all of our great customers, and so we thank you for that partnership and, frankly, friendship. And for those watching, if you're thinking about starting your own modernization journey, I hope this session really gave you some strategic insights, maybe a bit of guidance around where to get started or how to get started, maybe some real world perspectives around benefits, and we're excited to both continue helping organizations modernize with momentum here. If you'd like to explore your own path of moving on to SailPoint ISC, please don't hesitate to reach out to SailPoint or Accenture. We're both here to help. And so thanks again for taking time to watch, and enjoy more episodes of Identity TV.